To the rest stop, way to the Canadian border. Clouds are breaking up, so hopefully I'll get a view of the northern lights tonight. Get an Alcan Highway. Not a lot of people on the highway in mid-September. Around, and I'm now heading back out of Talk towards the border, aiming for Destruction Bay tonight. I don't think I'll try to get that much farther. I just want to find a reasonable place. As I made my way from Palmer, Alaska back down towards the Canadian border, I kept stopping to check my Aurora apps. Apparently, the high KP number was the result of a Category G3 solar storm, and I was right in the path of what could be one of the biggest Aurora displays of the season. By midnight, the Aurora might be visible by some of the border states back in the US. My enthusiasm was tempered a bit by the fact that I had stayed up until 3 a.m. the night before and got shut out as the full moon rose and pretty much obliterated whatever aurora was visible for that brief time I was shooting down in the Kenai Peninsula. I figured I was going to get shut out again, even with a solar storm with a KP of 7. After crossing the Canadian border, I kept heading south even though it was a bit tough to keep my eyes open at this point. I had hoped to make it down near Destruction Bay, but as I pulled over at a rest stop at Pig Handle Lake, it suddenly occurred to me that this spot might actually work for an Aurora shot. I had also been driving for over 10 hours, and by that point, I was pretty shot. A very nice rest area. I think I'm all by myself right now. It's perfect. Lake situation for tonight if we get the northern lights. It's a beautiful ridge right here, line up with all this color. So we have some dinner, hook up the Starlink, and just take it easy, maybe take a nap, and then see what the Aurora looks like. That ridge is just lighting up. I'm gonna grab a couple of shots really fast. Get the moon rising. The bummer is as soon as that stupid moon pops out, it's gonna kill off the whole show. I'm not gonna be able to see anything unless I go this way. So I'll hang around, but I'm probably gonna end up having to go down to Destruction Bay. No wind. Look at the reflection. This would have been perfect. It's just killing me. I can't get things to line up. I finally get like this huge solar storm. And I can't shoot it because I got a giant full moon just about to pop out. When the moon finally rose, it was just as I had feared. I could make out the aurora in the sky, but it looked very weak and anemic against the full moon. I headed to bed, but I set an alarm to go off at 1:30 just in case something happened. And at 1:30 a.m., something did happen. The full moon was now shining brightly overhead, but the aurora was so strong, it was easily outshining the moon. I carefully crept out on a rickety loading dock and followed one particular massive wave across the sky as it roiled above my head, working its way to the west. I spent the next hour shooting until all of the energy coiled itself into a ball and then simply disappeared. I spent the next day saying goodbye to the Yukon as I worked my way back down past Destruction Bay, past Haines Junction, past Whitehorse, all the way back down to the Stewart-Cassiar Junction, where I made sure to fill up with gas at Watson Lake before setting off on a long drive down Highway 37. Beautiful light. This is a little rest area. We have some dinner. And maybe drive another hour or so tonight, or I might just stay here. I spent the night at a pullout off of the Stewart-Cassiar before continuing several hours the next day back down to Prince George. From Prince George, I continued on the Yellowhead Highway down into the Canadian Rockies, and eventually to a fantastic camping spot at Abraham Lake. The lake, coming down into the lake, Bridges Point South Camping Area B. This was all blocked off last year, so I had stopped at Abraham Lake as I was hoping for fall color reflection shots in the aspens that were generally in floodwaters during this time of year. But as I drove in, it became obvious that the fall color had yet to arrive in this area, and most of the trees that had been flooded during the previous years looked like they had died, possibly because of the floodwaters. On top of that, a storm was now moving in, which looked like it would block any further light for the day, so I gave up on shooting and got ready to grab some dinner and to do some grading with my online class using my Starlink Mini. Abraham Lake, raining tonight, so I parked right alongside the lake, this campground. Gonna settle in, have some dinner, spend the night here, and then tomorrow just explore a little bit. I think the water level is lower than normal, and even the areas that are normally flooded are kind of dead, so I don't know if I'm gonna hang around too long. I'll just explore if the sun's out, then maybe head south, getting some nice light after dinner. I'll try and get a couple of shots in before all the light goes away. I heard the rain stop, and so I thought the rain was clearing. It's snowing. Abraham Lake, September 20th. Getting some morning snow. It's about, 8 o'clock? Finally started to stick. The temperature's dropping. So I'll probably hang around here just a little bit and see what things look like once the sun comes out again. Lake's got just a little bit bigger. Just bonkers. I didn't think this storm was going to hang around this long. I thought it looks like we're on the back end of the storm right here, but there's probably a lot of cold air. So I might hang around a little bit longer this morning, just wait for everything to melt off a little bit before I head out. Or maybe I'll just stay here. On the morning of September 20th, I woke up to find that it was snowing at Abraham Lake. The temperature had dropped into the low 30s overnight, and fortunately, by this point, I had figured out how to keep the hybrid motor running overnight with the heater running, which solved the carbon dioxide problem and the freezing temperatures inside the van problem. As the storm broke up, the clouds lifted and the sun slowly emerged through the clouds, lighting up the newly fallen snow. I had planned to leave the area before dawn because the conditions were so poor for photography, but once it stopped snowing and the storm broke up over the surrounding peaks, well, that was a completely different story. I had been to Abraham Lake several times before, but I had never seen it like this. The lake was absolutely calm with mirror-like reflections, and the surrounding clouds were incredible. I spent the rest of the day putting the drone in the air and shooting while taking long breaks just to sit on the shore of the lake and stare. guys. Let's straighten this out a little bit. What day is it? Saturday? Saturday the 21st. Leaving Abraham Lake. And heading south. So no clouds around this morning. Good time for me to head out of here, because I noticed my heater came on a lot more last night, down to 31 it says, so 30, probably 30 degrees where I was. Lots of frost this morning. Still pretty cold out there. Coming down on the Saskatchewan crossing again. I think I've got enough gas, so I'm just gonna go for it. Leaving for the Red Eagle Motel, which is St. Mary, right next to Glacier, about 4 hours to the south. I was gonna hang around, but the clouds are kind of and I'm just kind of eager to get home. So I think if I just head south, do Glacier today, whatever that is, and then maybe tomorrow I'll just head home. It's been 3 weeks, feeling kind of worn out. See if I can buy my pass. Okay. So I'm going to take my lifetime pass and just drive on up here, probably just to Lake Mary, and then turn around. I haven't done this in a while, so very clear day. Not that great for photography, but you can really see the peaks. Just starting to turn yellow down here. After purchasing my senior lifetime annual national park pass for $80, which will be the last time I pay to enter a national park for the rest of my life, I entered Glacier National Park and headed up going to the Sun Road. Unfortunately, the park was insanely crowded for a Saturday in late September, but then again, the weather was perfect, unless you are a photographer. It became obvious how crowded it was as I drew near to Logan Pass and hit gridlock at the Visitor Center. Since the weather wasn't conducive for landscape photography, and since there were no clouds in the sky, and since I was exhausted from many late nights and 3 weeks on the road, it was finally time to head home. I started on the last 1,300 miles of my journey on September 22nd. After a 650-mile drive down to Provo, Utah, I made a quick overnight stop and got up at 4 a.m. before powering all of the way back to Orange County by 1:30 p.m. Pacific Time. I had a ton of work to do and only 1 week to prepare for my upcoming trip to Switzerland and France. If you'd like to follow me on my adventures through the Swiss and French Alps, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss those episodes. Before ending this episode, here are some of my shots taken on the long road home from the Yukon.